Hello everyone, and welcome to Defender of the Week, a podcast that talks about all the nitty-gritty in the book The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. I'm your host, Richard Lehman.
And I'm Grace Smith. This episode 1, we'll be talking about the symbolism and other related topics in the first 5 chapters. I will now pass it on to Richard to talk about Chapter 1.
So, Chapter 1 is, in Chapter 1, Holden is introduced. He has a brother who bought a $4,000 Jaguar, which is a car. Holden has also been kicked out of prep school. Let's just say he's not a good student, for lack of a better term. Let's talk about his brother for a little bit, shall we? His brother's name is DB. This is important. Nothing really, symbolizing the chapter, but, plus or minus 20 years later, you said?
Yeah, 20 years.
There was a guy named D.B. Cooper who robbed Northwest Orient Airlines Flight 305 that was going from Portland to Siena-Tacoma. Cooper hijacked the plane and then jumped out of said plane and was never seen again, we think. At least we think he jumped out of the plane and survived. There's enough evidence to support he died or survived.
That goes into conspiracy theory territory.
We're not talking about that. You're about the wrong podcast if you're looking for that. Anyway, notice DB robbed about, $50,000 from that flight.
I just know it was a lot of money.
Yeah, $50,000.
I didn't know the number. Anyway,
interesting to note, $4,000 in 1930, brain's working today. Word salad's delicious. $4,000 in 1945 was just about enough money. Was just about $50,000 in the 1970s, or it's early 1970s. Of course, DB Cooper, of course, was greedy, and he could have drawn inspiration from D.B. Caulfield, the character in the book. Going for a Jaguar, especially that expensive, seems a little expensive, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, well, he also works in Hollywood, so I remember it was mentioned that Holden thinks that he's a sellout, so that really continues the theme of, greed in the novel.
Yeah. I mean, granted, Seattle and, actually, no. When Dan Cooper, that was another name he went by, the hijacker, that is. When Cooper jumped out of the plane, we think he was somewhere over California, in the California, Nevada, Mexico area. Hollywood's in California, isn't it?
Yeah.
Funny how these things work out, isn't it?
Okay, now let's move on to Chapter 2.
Ew.
Thank you, Richard.
Whatever you do.
So, in Chapter 2, basically what happens is that we meet a former teacher that Holden loved, Mr. Spencer. He is no longer teaching at the private school.
Is he retired, or?
Because I'm pretty sure it's because he's sick with the flu.
And you said this book forward, plus or minus, was at 30 years, it could be COVID.
Stop it! This was 1950, so a lot more than that. 70?
Something like that.
Yeah, wait.
Do the math.
Because another 50 would be 2001, another 20.
So yeah, 70.
Yeah, 70.
70 years.
I'm a genius. Anyway, he's sick with the flu because this is the past, not 2021 or 2022 or whatever. Anyway, Holden goes into the house, just there, casual, fun things like that, but sits right on the bed, which is a little odd for a teacher. I mean, first of all, it's odd that you have that close of a relationship with a former teacher. That also could have been something with culture back then, I guess. But he goes straight to the bedroom where Mr. Spencer is and sits down. A little odd. And Holden tells Mr. Spencer he's getting kicked out of the school. Yeah, not fun. And most of it was because of failing grades. And failing grades speaking of failing grades, he, as in Mr. Spencer, hands Holden an old paper about the Egyptians, which may not seem significant, but it was a failed paper. Other than one thing, which, let me find the quote.
Modern science would still like to know what the secret ingredients were that Egyptians used when they wrapped up dead people so that their faces would not rot for innumerable centuries.
This reflected Holden's fascination with death, and I feel like that's going to be a common theme throughout the book, I feel like.
Possibly. Well, he's growing up.
I feel like part of it is because of, like, what I've seen in, like, just, like, a preview of the book. I haven't looked at spoilers yet.
Good.
Yeah, going into this completely blind.
And a normal person shall.
Yeah.
I'd also like to mention, if he's growing up, right? Which he is. He's in what? High school?
Yeah, high school. I feel like he's, like, around our age.
He could be an adult. Anyways, he's growing up in the world. He's going to face death, loss, all sorts of things. Also, Sandra was a World War II vet who was in D-Day.
That was so interesting. He was actually carrying, the book.
Yeah.
A copy of the book with him on D-Day, which is fascinating. And the thing D-Day is most well known for, well, other than it being a major turning point in World War II.
Debatable, but we're gonna let you continue.
I mean, it's one of turning points.
Debatable, but we're gonna let you continue.
Sorry. Very bloody, very just like people were dying everywhere. Some may say that the water was like red from all the blood because because they had such heavy gear. Heavy gear, like that was one of the things. And then also like I'm mostly talking about
Sauerkraut, right? Are you basing this off of that? Because
a little bit, but also because we watched a clip of that in A-Push. But
lovely.
Yeah.
It's accurate.
Is it accurate?
It is accurate.
Yeah.
Did you know the reason veterans had to leave? Because,
really?
Yeah, it was that bad. The only thing veterans were saying, the only thing that wasn't there was the smell.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and also the Germans having the high ground.
So we're gonna get mad, like moving on.
I know, I was stopping myself from quoting Star Wars. So that was just a disadvantage. So probably with the author being in that situation has a reflection on the character of Holden, because being around so much death could bring up like that type of thing in mind, like a fascination. It also doesn't help that something we're gonna cover in a later chapter, like in the next chapter 5 maybe. Chapter 5, relating to a death of a family member might also influence the fascination with death.
Always a lovely world, isn't it? Chapter 3. It's the next one on the list. A character named Robert Ackley is introduced, and he is one of the fencers. It's also worth noting Holden is the fence team manager. Won't be for long though, because he's not going to be there for much longer. He's getting kicked out.
With losing the fencing gear on the subway.
How do you manage that?
I don't know. How do you manage to do that?
I can never see if you lose 1940. I can imagine if you lose a pen or something. That's expected.
Yeah.
But you're carrying equipment and gear. That it's not something you accidentally misplace.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, back to chapter 3.
Well, that is part of chapter 3, so we're good.
True.
Anyway, Ackley. We don't call him Robert, we don't call him Bob, we don't call him Rob, we don't call him Bobbert. We don't call him anything but Ackley. He's a little stuck-up person.
Even though Bobbert would be really funny.
It would be funny. I am going to refer to him as that occasionally.
Yeah, might as well.
However,
you can't tell us no, because it's our podcast.
You can't anyway, but Ackley does not like being called anything that. He's a little stuck up. I wouldn't be surprised if his parents or any sort of trauma brought that up or whatnot. Ackley is reading. I think it's Ackley, right?
No,
Yeah.
it is Holden.
Holden. Too many people in this book.
2 characters, Richard.
Oh no, there's Standler. There's the Spencer.
Sandler is not a character. He's the author.
Strandler.
Oh, right. Never mind. I thought you said the author's name. Ugh.
The author's name is Salinger, for starters. There's that. Anyways, Holden.
Sorry, close enough. Anyway.
No, it's not. Anyways, Holden. He's reading a book called English. He's reading a book called Out of Africa. It basically talks about African colonial rights before the British Empire and rule ended.
Colonialism, yay.
It's not a lovely thing. Basically, showing individualism. That word? Individualism.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. That's what I messed up.
If it's not, it is now.
Breaking free and independence and all that fun stuff because, it has to be in every book we exist.
No, having a good old-fashioned breakup with authority. It's not you, it's me. I want to be my own person.
No. Anyways. Ackley also, we also like to mention, next door to Holden, poor hygiene, and is depressed. So like every teenager that's ever existed. I'm gonna get a lot of flack for that.
We all know it's true, though.
I'm still gonna get,
that's not true. I'm not depressed.
guidance is gonna have an issue with that.
Oh, well.
HR is gonna have an issue with that.
Anyway. Seems like a lot of characters in this book are depressed. And honestly, low-key of a mood.
Anyways.
I am mentally stable, I promise.
No, you're not. Strandler. Let's also talk about him for a little bit. He's that cool, popular kid that apparently people care about.
Yeah, for some reason people care about him.
Unfortunately, we think they care about.
Based on first impressions.
People could be lying. People are good liars.
Ugh.
Anyway, he's Holden's roommate, and Ackley. Well, he
Hate him.
Yeah, pretty much. Ackley leaves the dorms when Strandler, that's a word, Strandler. English is a funny thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Strandler enters the room. Ackley leaves. They're not on their mutual Christmas card list.
Okay. Excuse me.
They're not.
You're right. Okay.
I mean, I'm not sure about you, but I don't think they'll be exchanging Christmas gifts.
Fair.
Merry Christmas. I hate your guts. Here's a pack of cigarettes. That's not no. Nata. That's not going to be working. Anyways, chapter 4. Take it away.
Chapter 4. In chapter 4, it is revealed that, along with our dear friend Bobbert,
What have I done?
Strandler is... Oh.
He's a slob, yes.
Is a slob. Yeah. For a second I thought I mispronounced his name, because I wouldn't be surprised.
Strandler or
Strandler.
Yeah, Strandler.
Strandler? Got it.
Funny story time. If you try to type in Strandler in Google Docs or any Google-related websites, it tries to autocorrect it to Strandlater.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it appears later in the thing.
Okay, anyway, back to chapter 3. It is established that the next door neighbor and his roommate sucks. Just put it bluntly. Everyone for some reason is slob, but Strandler, he is Mr. I dated 7 billion girls over the summer.
That's not a good thing.
I know, he is a player.
How do you think his body count is?
And he talks about girl of the week. He can insert ridiculous number here. During it. And it is revealed that Holden actually has strong feelings for this girl.
It's love, not strong feelings. It isn't kindergarten. This is what, 9th, 10th, 11th? Okay, I'm a junior. This is 11th
It's love.
grade.
It's love. Stop being a baby. Admit it's love.
But,
Her name is Jane, but Strandler calls her Jean because he's so fancy.
is he though?
No, he's a slob, as established.
Yeah.
He borrows. He, referring to Standler, is borrowing Holden's houndstooth jacket, which doesn't seem important, but it's like a bold pattern. It also like is a symbol for wealth, which loops back how we brought up earlier. Greed is a common thing.
Money, money, money. Must be funny in a rich man's home.
Anyway,
What do I think? Ow.
We noticed that like slobbiness is a common thing in this chapter with Ackley like outwardly being very messy, and Strandler is a hidden slob. I did air quotes with that. But we decided the slobbiness, like, although very literal, like messy, messy could be like a thing relating to stressed out or depressed if we go to the extreme. But it could also be interpreted as how everyone has their own problems in the world, which very obvious, but some people hide it better than others. Like Ackley is very outward with how much of a slob he is, and so it could refer to how he's a very messy person. And then Strandler is a hidden slob, so that means that he has problems, he just isn't very outward about it. Like, he hides it.
Fun. I don't think there's anything else to add. We talked about Strandler asking Horton to do his English homework, right?
Oh, yeah, that too.
Again, for someone who's not a slob, he's not lazy. Like Spencer, but I think Spencer's sick. Oh, he is sick, so that's probably why he's lazy. Anyway, chapter 5. 1, 2, 3. Anyways, Horton will get into a snowball fight with a few of his friends, group of guys. Then he'll go out with Ackley, his friend Mel, and his other friend Brassard. Brassard will get burgers because food's important, I guess. Mel and
sometime.
Everyone else will go to play some pinball. Tech Week. This is what Tech Week does to a person.
Yeah.
While we're playing pinball, and then I'm assuming the club, Ackley pops some pimples and then talks about the girl he allegedly had sex with over the summer. If we're ignoring the fact that this is an example of him being a slob, who on earth brings it up in mid-conversation?
Yeah, I want to know what they were talking about, or just bringing up, like, who has slept around the most.
So, no, okay. I'm not gonna finish that joke.
Keep it PG.
Oh no, I'd cancel it by some sports teams.
Oh.
Anyways, Holden, when afterward this is all said and done, Holden goes back home and writes Strandler's paper on Holden's former dead brother. Maybe also former brother. Former dead brother. Allie, his brother younger brother who passed away.
From leukemia.
Type of cancer. The day he died, Holden does the very nice,
healthy,
relaxing anger management stress technique of breaking every window in the garage.
Very healthy.
Very healthy. Holden feels this loss strongly, mainly because Ali was the nicest and most innocent one in the family, and he was also closest to. Good time to mention that Holden is in fact a middle child. Ali was the younger brother, and now he's 6 feet under. DB is the older brother.
Who's a sellout.
Daddy's gotta make that bank.
Yeah, you know. Anyway.
Ali wrote some poems before he passed, and he wrote it in green ink.
On a baseball glove.
Think he was a baseball player?
Maybe. Hopefully we'll learn more about his character in the novel.
Trauma!
Yay!
Anyway, green ink means a whole bunch of things. First, we're gonna go through all three of them. First off, rebirth. In some cultures, mainly the Egyptian culture and religion and whatever the pharaohs did, when you passed away, you were rebirthed somewhere else. So kind of like Christianity with when you go to heaven and whatnot. Next off is we found, now granted this was written during the Second World War, partially. So this part may be up to debate. But the British espionage group people, so the MI7, signed their documents in green ink. So it also could mean
He's hiding something.
he's hiding something. Probably his leukemia.
Wow, dark.
Have you met me?
Fair.
And then in other writings, green ink also means you can be crazy, but you can also be artistic. Honestly, I find that a bunch of horse crap, and he is probably more to the rebirth side considering he passed away very soon. Yes.
No.
Yes. Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
Listen.
See. No. No.
Listen.
No.
Listen.
No. What, here again in Spanish? No.
Listen to me. It's not rebirth because he's dead. He's very much dead.
Exactly. Rebirth.
He's creative artistic because it's poems and it means something. And, maybe he wrote the poems. They never specified what kind of poems they were. And I personally think it has nothing to do with rebirth.
Okay, here's the
Maybe
thing.
it's just a coincidence.
Here's the thing, though. If he had some artistic ability, we haven't seen any of it because, again, he's dead. When what happens when you're dead? In some cultures, you get rebirth. Considering
That
this
was
is
never implied. This is not a
considering this
cultural
is
novel.
considering this is 1940s America, about 95% or so of Americans are Christians. Most of them, or Jewish.
But literally in Christianity, there is nothing about reincarnation.
Yeah, but
So-
it's called heaven.
That's the afterlife,
Yeah,
not reincarnation.
Afterlife means
Big
you're-
difference.
No, it's not big difference. It means very much so.
No!
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Yes.